Hello everyone and welcome back to another live stream with me, Grizzly. This is Grizzly True Crime and we are back to talk about the Idaho case. If you don't know anything about this case, I hope you'll expand the description box and find the link to the playlist and you'll see lots of deep dives over there. But a quick recap on November 13th of 2022. Can you believe it was that long ago? It feels like this happened yesterday. Oh my word. November 13th of 2022, four students were murdered from the University of Idaho. And I've got a picture of them here. Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, and Madison Mogen and Xana Kernodle. Did I say Xana already at the beginning? Sorry about that. So the four roommates in the off-campus home, and by December 30th, they arrested the suspect, Bryan Kohberger. And whoa, his trial is set for, do you believe that the trial is going to happen this year? Because they say so, and it might, because there's a new judge now, and this judge doesn't play. So it might actually happen. It's set for jury selection is on July 31st of 2025, and the trial is set to happen on August 11th of 2025. We'll be ready. I hope there'll be cameras in the courtroom. I hope I can watch this trial with you. The next court hearing, just before anyone asks, is on April 9th of this year. It's apparently a 2-day hearing, April 9th and 10th. Now, everyone, oh my goodness, we have documents to go through. Like, there have been 71 new filings. So if I see my little scatterbrain, my brain is full. I have read through all these filings, okay, this weekend. There are 71 new filings from just March of 2025, okay? And we're gonna focus on 8 of them today because I always wanna just bring you, the bullet points, the highlights, what's most important, okay? So, Stefan says, August 11th, I changed from pencil to pen. Are you sure, Stefan? But did you write in the year? Because we're not so sure. But I mean, it might actually happen this year. If it does, oh my goodness, can you imagine? Sure, what a trial this will be for a quadruple homicide in Moscow, Idaho. Wow. Okay, so let's just get started. Welcome everyone. Please like and share so others know that we are live right now. And let me just make this smaller. And then they can find us and hopefully find some of this information because it's an overwhelming amount of information, but I'm going to do my best to just summarize it for you. I've gone in and highlighted things so that I know what to pay attention to. So we could just focus on that because, oh wow, the closer we get to the trial, obviously the more information comes out. The defense is, they're defending their client. The states, they're also making all these filings, and it's just like this back and forth that is just unbelievable to read about. Real Happy said, I don't see Judge Hippler postponing it. I don't either, actually. The previous judge was Judge, and I mean, he was very nice, but the problem was that the defense wanted to delay, and they said they wanted maybe for the summer of like 2026. And it sounded like, whoa, this trial is going to take like another 5 years to happen. So I'm really glad that the judge now in Ada County is kind of putting his foot down and saying, listen, this trial is happening, jury selection, July 31st. Before we know it, before we blink, it's going to be there again, right? So just remember that obviously Bryan Kohberger is innocent until proven guilty. I actually asked you guys on a poll before this live stream started. So far, and I mean, this is like many months before the trial. So just remember, we the public, even with all these filings, we only know maybe at most 50% of what's going on in a case. It's actually more conservatively like between 5 and 10%. So I said, so far, your thoughts lean towards, and 75% of you voted that Bryan Kohberger allegedly did this alone because he's the suspect. Just remember, he's innocent until proven guilty. I was just trying to see where you guys are at. 8% said Bryan Kohberger had an accomplice or accomplices. 6% said someone else or others did it. And 11% said can't say one way or another. Oh my word. Wow. Thank you, Indy Isham. I just saw that you said welcome to Grizzly Super Supporter. Thank you so much for upgrading your membership. That is very, very kind of you. Thank you so much. Mama Bear said, I can't imagine being a juror on that trial. Heartbreaking and terrifying, right? Okay, so please remember, I wanted to see with the poll where everyone is at because I watch a lot of content on this case as well, and from all over, all different opinions. So please know here, obviously all opinions are welcome. Okay, there's so many debates online, and I find it all very interesting. So Thank you for voting. I'm going to end the poll there now. Okay, we're going to have to dive in now. Let me say one more. Welcome, Miss Curry. Mods, if you could please help me thank people for stickers or joining membership and things, because we're going to have to focus now, you guys, because otherwise we will be here all night. And while I love spending time with you, I do not like wasting your time. We need to just like get into it. Okay, so let's start with this one. As I say, out of 71 filings, we're focusing on 8 of them today. Because I thought you would find it most interesting. Now, this one is called Motion in Limine number 7 regarding witness identification by bushy eyebrows. So I'm sure you've heard quite a bit about the bushy eyebrows that one of the surviving roommates described who she saw. She saw like an intruder, a guy, and she described, and we're going to go into depth here because we hear more about how she described what she saw. So we're going to be looking at this, but yeah, this, just in case someone wants to know, which document is it? It's this one with the bushy eyebrows, okay? So it says, comes now, Bryan C. Kohberger, by and through his attorneys of record and pursuant to the, okay, I'm not going to bore you with all of that. It says, more specifically, the defense asserts that rules 403, 601, and 602 of the Idaho Rules of Evidence bar witness, DM, herein after DM, from using the words bushy eyebrows. So the defense doesn't want DM to say at the trial bushy eyebrows, which is quite funny in a way, because one would think that they're like, he doesn't have bushy eyebrows. Bushy eyebrows are subjective, okay? But instead they're like, she may not say bushy eyebrows, okay? Or identifying Mr. Kohberger in that manner. Crime all the time, welcome. Look here, look here. I'm gonna quickly skip to the selfie. Wait, isn't it here? Or maybe that's on a different one. Don't worry, we're gonna get to it. You see it on the thumbnail, right? That selfie of Bryan Kohberger, oh my word. I mean, I do think bushy eyebrows can be quite subjective. Sorry, I've got cat hair on my lipstick now as well. What a day it is. But all right, they don't want DM to say that or identify Mr. Kohberger in that manner. So now you can see I'm going to skip to my highlights. It says, when the Manson-Biggers balancing test is applied to the facts of this case, the reliability of the witness identification is non-existent. DM is the only person alive who is known to have seen the intruder. She only saw the intruder briefly. Her recollection, or lack thereof, is filled with uncertainty, fuzziness, and the influence of alcohol, dreaming, and sleepiness. She did not see the intruder well enough to describe him to a composite artist. After Mr. Kohberger was arrested, she did not recognize him from a photo. Okay, so this is where I remember now, sorry, it's another document, I want to show you this. Look at the selfie. Oh my word. Somebody was saying before the chat, before the live started, that it looks like he colored his hair. Do you think it looks like he's dyed his hair? I don't know. I don't know. Would you describe that as bushy eyebrows or what? I don't know. It's just, when you hear more about what she described, you can maybe... one could start understanding why she only really remembers the eyebrows. We're going to get to that now. So let's go back here. It said, relevant facts, bushy eyebrows. Interviews on November 13th of 2022. On November 13th of 2022, DM was inside the house when the murders occurred and saw a figure dressed in black, hereafter intruder, when she peeked out her bedroom door around 4 a.m. Shortly after seeing the intruder, she went downstairs to BF's room. The two girls fell asleep. This is what the defense says. No, that's what the state says, that they fell asleep. The defense says they didn't fall asleep. They were on their phones the whole time. So that becomes interesting as well. Just the battle between the state and the defense on these facts, right? I was actually making it smaller so I could do this. I hope you could see okay. Let me know, right? So then it says, the two girls fell asleep. Roughly 8 hours later, a 911 call was made from BF's phone. So if you didn't know whose phone did the 911 call come from, it was from BF's phone, and that was at 11:56 a.m. Now, obviously, I'm pretty sure most of you have heard the 911 call. I have not played it here. To me, it's just like a whole bunch of distressed college kids. But it is out there if you want to listen to it. We're not going to play it here right now. So thank you so much, D. Bullard. So then, that was at 11:56. And so let's just keep going to where I highlighted. That's why I did this. Pictures on November 13th of 2022. Law enforcement took pictures of DM's room on November 13th of 2022 and November 19th of 2022. On the walls in her room were many pictures of eyes with prominent eyebrows, many of which she had drawn. Some of the eyebrows are heavy voluminous, puffy, or perhaps subjectively bushy. It's just like, okay. According to Detective Lake, he found artwork of human figures with an emphasis upon the eyes and eyebrows were pinned to corkboards. Now, I wanted to show you that in the last live stream we had about this case. I told you I would find that paragraph for you and we would talk about it. So there it is, okay? Then they also said there were no lights on the stairs. DM was uncertain whether either the kitchen light or the bathroom light was on. The kitchen light might have been on, but the twinkle lights in the living room may have been on. So it was dark, okay? Now, this is just the warm-up for the next document. I just want to make sure. The conclusion, they say, for the reasons addressed above, Mr. Kohberger respectfully requests this court grant his motion in limine to exclude DM from using the words bushy eyebrows to identify the intruder that she saw, and to exclude DM from identifying Mr. Kohberger based on bushy eyebrows. I think she's allowed to say bushy eyebrows, in my opinion, because, like, if that's the only description that she remembers, it's just like, I don't remember anything else but those bushy eyebrows. How can you say she can't say that? How else would she describe it? It wouldn't have the same effect either, just like full eyebrows. Okay, so that was the warm-up to this document right here for this freaking weird selfie, which the state alleges Bryan Kohberger took approximately 6 hours after the murders took place. So if he ends up being convicted, if he's the guy that committed these murders, then holy crap, this picture is eerie. If not, then obviously then it's not, you know what I mean? Context is king. But yeah, this picture, oh my word. And everybody's arguing about whether there's a shower curtain or not. People are saying, holy crap, he took a shower curtain off, but like, I see a shower curtain. Do you see it? Look there. This right here, this is all a shower curtain. So he had not yet removed the shower curtain. He probably just had a shower and put on a freshly pressed shirt and did a big thumbs up and took a selfie, and I don't know why. But maybe just because, who knows? We'll have to wait and see as well, but this is the first time we really see this picture. He does look quite pale. I think he needs a little bit of an iron infusion, if I may speculate, based on my iron having been low in the past and being very pale like that too. And he's vegan too. Not all vegans have iron deficiencies, but some do. Yeah, shame, dude. Some people on X even like brightened the picture or added some color. They're like, it made them so uncomfortable that it's just like so pale with these thumbs up and like earphones in. Why you got earphones in? What are you listening to? What is the selfie? Like, oh my word. And that would be, remember, based on what the state says. So the state says, this is the guy, this is the suspect, okay? This is the defendant now. They say that he committed the murders and then he did this long trip. Remember, he did like 2 drives. He did this long trip, went back to his apartment. This would be the back to the apartment, shower, selfie, and then went out again. Like, oh my word. Okay, so I've shown you the picture. Now we're getting into more details about the bushy eyebrows, okay? Witness identification by bushy eyebrows. So it says, applying the Idaho rules of evidence to the facts of the case at hand, the court should find DM's descriptions of the intruder, including that he had bushy eyebrows, admissible. So the state wants that to be admissible, and they're arguing in this document that it is admissible and that she is reliable and that she's been consistent throughout, right? Okay, so Paul Taylor says, hey G, everyone, what happens if the defense can prove he's not guilty? All the DNA has gone. Thoughts and prayers for the family and friends. Well, it will be interesting, right? I don't think the bit of DNA they have on the knife sheath is gone, but do you mean because the house is demolished? Maybe. Thank you so much for your sticker. So they say, the state incorporates its previously filed state's motion in limine regarding the text messages and testimony, as well as the state's motion in limine relating to the 911 calls. Let's go to the facts. On November 13th of 2022, sometime before 4:19 a.m., DM observed a person inside her residence, which she shared with her 4 roommates at 1122 King Road. See State's Exhibit S1, summary exhibit of DM's phone records. DM placed several phone calls and sent several text messages to her roommates. The only roommate who responded is BF. They had 2 short phone conversations, 24 seconds and 41 seconds. Within those phone calls and text messages, DM relayed to BF that she saw a person in the residence wearing black and he had on a ski mask that covered his forehead and mouth. So we get more and more details as we go. Please remember that, like, you know, a lot of the text messages and things that's redacted. They don't give us the full context, the full conversation, just little bits, because some people are like, whoa, the conversation makes no sense. Well, yeah, because it's like redacted. It's you know, I don't want to say cherry picked because the state definitely doesn't like that phrase. They talk about that later, but it's like information, only what they need to provide in these public records right now before the trial. It's not everything. I'm sure we'll get the full picture at the trial, right? Okay, so they said, that's why as well, BF, we saw text messages where she said, well, Xana was wearing all black, right? Now, on November 13th of 2022, at approximately 11:56 a.m., a 911 call was placed from 1122 King Road for a reported unresponsive female. The caller stated one of the roommates was not waking up, and the transcript of the 911 call, the caller stated, oh, and they saw some man in the house last night. Moscow Police Department responded to the scene. The same day, at approximately 12:09 p.m., Moscow Police Department officer Mitch Nunez took a statement from DM on scene outside 1122 King Road. DM told Officer Nunez that she saw a male not insanely tall, wearing all black and a mask that was just covering his forehead and mouth. Defendant's Exhibit number 2, page 17, lines 5 to 7. Later, DM repeated the description. He was a little bit taller than me. I couldn't really see much of him, and I'm almost positive he was wearing a full black outfit, and he had this mask that was just over his forehead and over his mouth. DM gave the description a third time, repeating he had a mask. He was an inch or two taller than her. He was basketball player, kind of skinny, and a voice that she did not recognize. The same day, at approximately 1:47 p.m., DM was interviewed at the Moscow Police Department by Detective Lawrence Mowry. During this interview, DM reported that she saw a white male that she did not know, maybe my height, a few inches taller, skinny, athletic build, wearing all black, wearing this mask that covers just his forehead and here. So obviously she showed it, and here. So that covered just his forehead and I guess here. Defendant's Exhibit number 3, page 14, lines 22 to 25. Regarding his height, she reported, I'm 5'10", so he's probably around 6 foot, and Kohberger is 6 foot, according to his driver's license. And so she reported, I don't remember what his eyes look like either. I didn't recognize eyes, but definitely a white guy. Okay, so that's what she said. Luna Thomas said he could have had plastic covering in his car to stop transferring DNA. He took a drive and had time to dispose of clothes and such. Yeah, he could have. Thanks for being a member for 31 months. Now, 4 days later, on November 17th of 2022, DM was interviewed by Idaho State Police, ISP Detective Victoria Gooch, and MPD Captain then Sergeant Dustin Blaker. DM gave a detailed recounting of what she did on Saturday, November 12th of 2022 until she went to bed at approximately 3:20 a.m. on Sunday, November 13th of 2022. The defendant's Exhibit number 6, pages 19 to 50. This is the longest document we're going through, by the way. The rest are all lots of highlights, okay? Sometime between 4 a.m. and 4:20 a.m., that's on November 13th, DM woke up and heard a male's voice, a voice she did not recognize, say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." That's still such a weird statement. DM opened her door and saw, unless, of course, it could have been, well, she said she didn't recognize, she didn't think it was Ethan Chapin's voice. It's a voice she didn't recognize saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." So then we go here. DM opened her door and saw someone, because from my mind, it's like I was almost wearing these like blurry glasses, like it's fuzzy and cloudy, but it was like a figure of someone wearing all black, and it was like they had a ski mask that was covering their forehead and their chin and mouth. But I could see all I remember was seeing the eyebrows. And I don't remember what the eyes look like, but I remember the eyebrows. I don't remember the color the eyebrows were. I just remember like bushy eyebrows. That's all I could think about. Anita says, "Thank you, G. You're amazing. We love you and how hard you work for the Grizzlies." Thank you. Now, I do have a little AI picture I want to show you here. Look, it could have been like this. I asked AI to take Kohberger's selfie, use it as inspiration, and put a mask on him that can only really show his eyes and eyebrows. So it could have been like this. I'm speculating. This is not an exhibit. Don't get it wrong. it's something that AI created, that I asked it to create, okay? And this is what it could have looked like in a quite dark house, you know? Only maybe the kitchen light was on or twinkly lights in the living area. So that is what I would imagine she's trying to explain. And if you look at something like this, you can also imagine why she only remembers eyebrows. If the intruder is dressed all in black with a mask like this, then holy crap, yeah, you're just going to see eyebrows. Because a lot of people are like, why would she say eyebrows? Well, she described a lot more than just eyebrows now that we know. We didn't know before, you know, based on the PCA, there was such little information, which is perfectly fine. Now more information is coming out and she's described a lot more. But this is probably, I can imagine how the intruder could have looked. Okay, so we carry on here. Then she said, DM described the male as not skinny tone, that basketball kind of type. DM stated she's 5'10" tall, so she thought the male was around 5'10" and then 6 foot, somewhere around there. DM stated the male was approximately 3 feet from where she was standing. That's close, man. Damn. I would say about 3 feet from what I remember. Again, that could be, of course, I obviously probably still a little bit drunk. I just woke up. I don't remember fully. Again, she described the male. I know he looked at me because I could see his eyebrows. I think I just saw one eyebrow. I don't know why or how. It could have been a unibrow for all we know. Was it a unibrow? Or maybe it was just that the light just caught one eyebrow. You know what I mean? So DM recounted calling and texting her roommate BF, and she discussed with BF that there was someone in the house wearing all black and a ski mask. See States Exhibit S2. And then it says DM conveyed to the interviewers that the facts didn't fully make sense to her and she didn't know how to explain everything. Detective Gooch explained to DM that the important thing was to tell only things that she knew were true. That's the most important. Detective Gooch acknowledged DM's trauma. So if the detectives can, people can. I know some people don't want to, but I mean, for us, hindsight's 2020. For them, like, they're in the situation. I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't them. I don't know how I'd respond to a situation like that. I think we'd all say we'd call 911 immediately. We'd do this, we'd do that, but we don't know because we weren't in the situation, and they didn't know that their friends had been murdered at that time. They heard weird noises and things, but it was a college house. It was a house where there were lots of parties, pranks, all sorts of things. So anyway, Detective Gooch acknowledged DM's trauma. Then it said Detective Gooch and Captain Blaker confirmed the facts from DM's memory again. DM reiterated she saw a male figure in the hallway approximately 3 feet from her. He was holding something. Now, in other documents, we heard that she thought he was holding like a vacuum type object, but it could have also been the knife covered with a cloth, or the knife, I don't know, in a bag, or just holding the knife. Who knows, right? It was dark and we just don't know. But he was holding something. He was wearing all black clothes. His forehead was covered. He was wearing a mask. She remembered his eyebrows. So the whole time she remembers the same thing. So then Defendant's Exhibit page 105, Captain Blaker asked what was covering his face. And DM stated, I don't know, a weird looking ski mask. It wasn't like the regular ski mask with like eyes and, you know, because I saw his eyebrows and I think I saw his nose and like part of his face, but I don't know. Defendant's Exhibit 6 at page 105, line. Detective Gooch asked DM if she knew what a balaclava was and showed her a picture. In response, and addressing whether she could see the male's mouth, DM stated, no. And I don't remember if I saw it. Like, I don't remember if I saw his nose, but I know I saw eyebrows. And I don't remember his eyes. I just feel like I could see eyebrows. But I mean, that could be it. I mean, that would make sense. Why the forehead was covered and this part of his face was covered. So again, something like this. Also, I was basing this on looking on Amazon at a silk balaclava face mask for men. If you look that up, you know, one could imagine what she may be describing. Okay, so then she said, no, I don't remember what his eyes looked like. I don't remember what his nose looked like. I just remember eyebrows. I don't know exactly what the eyebrows look like at all, really. I just remember thinking like eyebrows. Yeah, bushy, but that's all. Like, I don't remember the shape. I don't remember like the color. I just remember like bushy eyebrows. That's the only thing I can remember. On December 1st of 2022, 18 days after the first interview, DM was interviewed by forensic interviewer Erin Williamson. DM gave a detailed account of Saturday, November 12th of 2022 until she went to bed on Sunday, November 13th of 2022. Defendant's exhibit number 7, all those pages, right? DM reported she heard a man's voice, and it wasn't Ethan's. It was like, "It's okay, I'm gonna help you." Wow. DM stated that she saw a all-black figure about my height, maybe a few inches taller, skinny build, wearing a mask. DM described, I don't remember if it was just like one eyebrow or two, but it was like this bushy eyebrow. DM texted BF, there's a guy all in black. Again, DM described the ski mask. I couldn't see any of his hair, but I remember just like seeing like it was like almost rectangular, not the circle ones. It was rectangular because I remember seeing like, just like, I don't know how to explain it, just like this. Maybe I'd be able to see like across, but I don't remember seeing his eyes, but I feel like his eyes were there. I could see like an eyebrow. I feel like that's how I know he saw me, because I could see his eyebrow. Like if I could see his eyebrow, he can see me. From what I remember, I think he was like just like walking past that little wall and going towards the kitchen. And I don't know, like I just remember seeing an eyebrow. I don't know why, I just see one. It was just like one bushy eyebrow. I don't remember the color, like the full shape. I just remember it being bushy. Thoughts, anyone? Yeah, Nicole Simpson says, imagine having to relive that over and over again. I mean, she's had a lot of interviews, as you can hear. The police have spoken to her a lot. Stefan Grebe says, that's actually quite a good description of an intruder at 4 a.m. in the morning, right? So, let's keep going here. It says, she described his clothing again, stating the male was wearing black long sleeves, black pants, and black boots. Interesting. Okay, because before we weren't sure, like, shoes, what was the clothing like? Now there's a little bit more of a description there. Black long sleeves, black pants, and black boots. Then at the end of the interview, DM drew the mask for the interviewer. While drawing, she gave a consistent description of the mask and noted the eyebrows. I don't remember if I saw one or two, like it was just weird. On December 29th of 2022, Bryan Kohberger was arrested in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, at his mama's house. Why do I say that? Because usually when we look at true crime cases, wow, a lot of them just go straight back to mama's house, right? Interesting. M. Hart said, been watching all weekend. Thanks for all you do. Compassionate, professional, snarky to boot. Thank you so much. We certainly have been busy, Grizzlies. If you haven't been here for a while, yeah, there's a lot to catch up on. We're covering lots of cases, trials, jail calls, and this, of course, as well. Now, on December 29th, that's the day, as we know, wow, that day was hectic. If you remember it, tell me if you were here. Holy crap. There was a press conference and we streamed that, and there were 27,000 people in this chat. We were like, whoa. It was so crazy because it was so huge that they actually arrested someone. And it actually didn't take that long. And remember that newspaper, sorry, I'm just going off on a tangent for a second here. Remember there was like this, it was actually almost like a tabloid magazine, like the front page of something that came out that said, yeah, before the new year, the suspect will be arrested. And we were like, oh my word, imagine. And then they were. We also had criminal profiler John Kelly on. And that was, I think, on December 29th. And I said to him, well, let's hope that, that by next year, let's hope that they arrest someone. And like the next day, we're like, whoa, they literally arrested someone. We couldn't believe it. Oh my goodness. So yeah, he was arrested. It said DM was interviewed, the following day on December 30th of 2022, 47 days after her first interview. DM was interviewed by Idaho State Police detectives Joe Lake and Gary Tolson in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So, DM was asked, have you seen a picture of Mr. Kohberger? And DM responded, yeah, I looked him up today when I found out. Regarding what picture she saw, she stated, I've seen the mugshot one with the vest thing. I think we all know which one. Do you remember the one with the green smock? It's a, YouTube. I can't say those words. It's for his own protection. He was put in a smock, okay? So he doesn't harm himself, that one. Do you remember the green vest? I think that's what she's talking about. I think. Then the interviewer asked, this Bryan Kohberger, the person that you saw in the mugshot, is that the person you saw in your house? DM responded, I have no clue. From what I remember, I just remember seeing this figure that was like, not fat obviously, but more of like the skinnier tone build and some mask on. I don't know what the mask exactly was, but when I thought about it, it was like covering here and here. I don't know if it was covering his mouth, his nose, or below his mouth and nose. I just remember knowing that he was white, but I didn't know how he was white. I just knew he was. And this knowing, there's like, I knew he had looked at me because of the bushy eyebrow. That's all I remember. But I have no idea what he looked like. I don't like, when I looked at his picture, nothing came back to me at all. So that, like, I don't know. I feel like if I saw that, my mind would be like, oh yeah, that's him. But it just, I don't remember at all. Then regarding DM telling BF the male had a big nose. Yeah, okay, regarding DM telling BF the male had a big nose, DM stated, all I remember, but I don't remember big nose at all, like at all. That's like, all I remember is like some bushy eyebrow in all black and some sort of mask, but it wasn't like one of the circle ski masks. That's all I remember. On May 15th of 2023, 183 days after DM's first interview, DM stated at the grand jury proceeding for the above titled matter that regarding November 13th of 2022, DM testified she woke up around 4 a.m. to noises, music, Murphy, talking, and or singing. I don't know if I've read music before. Do you remember music? I don't know if I'd heard before, it's not a big deal, but that music was playing at that hour. Paul Taylor said, could they not just do a lie test? They would hear everything through them wooden walls. Dog. Paul Taylor, thank you. So maybe they did one. We just don't know if they did one, right? Wait, let's just do it like this. Let's use our, there we go. Okay. So then, talking, singing. DM testified she opened a door and heard a man's voice say, it's okay, I'm going to help you. And I didn't know who the man's voice was. DM testified she opened a door again and saw a figure all in black, which I believe was a person. I knew the person was white. I don't know how, but I just knew it. Knew it was male. I think I knew that because of the voice. The person was around my height or a few inches taller. And then I knew his build wasn't like scrawny, and he wasn't fat, so I figured it was like a basketball toned, lean build, right? Lenny says, I've been looking forward to your thoughts on this, G. Lenny, you've been a member for 40 months, like holy moly, you are an OG. Thank you, Lenny, for being here with us. So then, regarding what the person was wearing, DM testified, there was like, from what I think, I remember it was like a black mask, almost like a ski mask, but not. It just covered the head, and then maybe up to the mouth, maybe more, can't remember if it covered just the chin, the mouth, or the nose, or lower. DM testified the clothing was all black. She testified, well, the thing I can really remember was something about a bushy eyebrow. I don't remember seeing anything else, just something about a bushy eyebrow. Now the argument says, DM's statements are independently reliable as law enforcement did not employ a witness identification procedure, triggering a Manson-Biggers balancing test. So I'm just going to skip over all this. The documents are, I'll put the source to the documents in the description box. Good luck. There's 71 filings if you want to read, or at least all day. But I'm going to stick to my highlights, okay? So in the case at hand, on 4 separate occasions prior to Bryan Kohberger being arrested, DM gave consistent descriptions of the male she saw in the 1122 King Road residence around 4 a.m. DM gave the following consistent descriptions. 1, white. 2, male. 3, wearing all black. 4, a few inches taller than DM. 5, wearing a mask. 6, skinny, athletic build or toned. 7, not a voice she recognized. During 3 of those interviews, DM also consistently describes the male's eyebrows. Excuse me, sir, bushy eyebrows. 5 times DM used the term, bushy, to describe the eyebrows. Look, they put it as a singular or a plural. We don't know if it was a unibrow or not, okay? So then they say, even if the court applies Manson-Biggers test, the totality of the circumstances presented in this case substantially outweigh any suggestiveness present. So it says, even if the court employs that, yes, the court should find that DM's descriptions, including bushy eyebrows, are reliable and admissible. Do you agree with this? Let me know. Especially let me know in the comments after the live stream as well. First, regarding opportunity to view, DM stated that she was only approximately 3 feet from the male. That is so scary. And some people would say, which is such a harsh question actually, why didn't the killer then kill the other 2 as well? That is like the worst question in the world. And the worst answer as well is probably because he was very, very tired. exhausted. I mean, damn. And maybe that wasn't the plan. I don't know. But like, damn. 3 feet away. That is just so scary to think about. For them to realize later what happened in that house, to think that this intruder walked past her that close. Sure, that must really be disturbing. So when she saw him, DM was able to get enough of a view of the male to determine his outfit, long-sleeved shirt, pants, black shoes, black mask, and the details regarding the mask he was wearing. Ski-type mask, without circular holes, but covering his forehead and mouth. DM also determined the male was holding an item, although she was not able to determine what the item was. Well, they said later, a vacuum-type object. So, second, regarding the degree of attention, DM's statements indicate during the time of her observation, she was only able to see the eye and the nose area. This means the only discernible features on the male would have been the nose and the eyes. On November 17th, DM states, I just remember like bushy eyebrows, that's all I could think about. Defendant notes DM's artwork or drawings found on her bedroom wall, which focuses on eyebrows or eyes. See the defendant's exhibit number 4. This only proves that DM would have a degree of attention to this facial characteristic, thus reinforcing her reliability. The thing is, if she had in her room, okay, drawings of eyes and eyebrows and things, it doesn't have to equal that's why she's focused on those features. It could, and it also doesn't have to have anything to do with it, especially if the intruder was wearing a mask, maybe kind of like the one I showed you. Yeah, then you're just going to see eyebrows. You'll just see eyes and eyebrows in the dark, just quickly. I'm sure it's also not, it's just a few seconds, you know? Brianna, welcome, and Mary says, yes, bushy eyebrows is important. Renee, I do want to clear this one up because a lot of people are saying this. So you said, I remember BK asking the cops if they'd caught anyone else yet when he was arrested. That is not factual. That came from via the grapevine, via one media person who said that, but we have no evidence that Bryan Kohberger actually said that. It was actually through his original attorney, I think, that he mentioned it to a media person who then, you know, it just isn't reliable. So we can't take that as fact. You know, have you arrested anyone else? That statement, we don't know. In the beginning, we all talked about it. But since then, it's like, oh, there's a few things along the way that have been cleared up, but they're coming up again. So anyway, so it said, defendant states Mr. Kohberger does not have bushy eyebrows. Oh. You don't have bushy eyebrows. Do you think Bryan Kohberger has bushy eyebrows or not? I do think it's very subjective. I don't know. Do I have bushy eyebrows? I have very expressive eyebrows. But it says defendant. So this only proves that DM would have a degree of attention to this facial characteristic, thus reinforcing her reliability. Defendant states, so he himself says, Mr. Kohberger does not have bushy eyebrows. The state intends to introduce a photograph of Bryan Kohberger, and that's why we have this exhibit taken from his phone on November 13th of 2022, only hours after the homicides at 10:31 a.m. Whoa. See State's Exhibit S5. Whether or not Bryan Kohberger can be described as having bushy eyebrows is a factual determination to be decided by the jury. I do like that. I do like that. Let the jury decide. Show it to them, right? Third, regarding the accuracy of the description, Kohberger matches DM's descriptions. Male, white, skinny, athletic build, a few inches taller than DM, not someone she knew, with bushy eyebrows. So before they're like, well, you know, let's let the jury decide. But then right after that, they're like, yeah, with bushy eyebrows. Okay, so Bryan Kohberger's driver's license was listing him as 6 foot, and the State's Exhibit S6 photograph taken by Bryan Kohberger on November 13th of 2022 at 10:31 a.m. showing his eyebrows. Jumpsuit Pablo is here. Holy crap. Hello, Jumpsuit Pablo. Thank you so much for the $10 sticker. I really appreciate it. Did I miss one as well? Someone said, was it you, Grizzly? You mean, am I the intruder? Was I there? Definitely not. Definitely not. I can just make a snarky brow, okay? Now, it says, fourth, we're almost done with this document. Then we're moving on. It says, on November 17th of 2023, she relayed to investigators that she was suffering from trauma and was unsure of what is real or what is not. I think that is a pretty common response, even though some people are like, no, it isn't. Dissociation, if something is deeply traumatic as well, when you're like, holy crap, was that real? Like, did that really happen? Sometimes the story, you know, reliving it could sound like, I don't even know if that was me, man. Was I really there? Did that intruder really walk past me like from 3 feet away? You know, so I don't blame her for feeling that way or saying that, even though I wasn't there, I wasn't her, I don't know. DM admitted many times she was probably still intoxicated. I don't know if I was still drunk, probably was, I don't know for sure. I was really asleep, I woke up out of nowhere, and I was obviously probably still a little bit drunk. I just woke up, I don't remember fully. Admittedly, DM made statements such as, I believe I was also very drunk, I don't know how much of this was real, I don't know if my mind was doing whatever, I don't know any of it, half of the stuff. I don't know if it's a dream or if it's real, I just have no clue. I mean, yeah, add alcohol to that trauma mix. Can you imagine? Be 20 years old, pretty wasted according to what she's saying, and then being like, what am I looking at? And then the trauma hits later of wait, my friends were brutally murdered in this house. Holy crap, but this intruder walked past me 3 feet away. Sure, that's a complicated mix, you know what I mean? Okay. Wayne B says, why were they calling their parents at 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning? Listen here. We haven't gotten there yet, okay? We're going to get to that document next. So, and I don't know. I don't know the answer. Okay, so I don't know if my mind was doing whatever. I don't know any of it, half the stuff. I don't know if it's dream, if it's real. I just have no clue. But the investigators told DM they only wanted DM to focus on what she knew was true. That's the most important. So we already read that. DM's statements are relevant and admissible, says the state. What is clear from the defendant's filing is that the defendant doesn't like this piece of the state's evidence. DM's description of the male having bushy eyebrows, and therefore would like to keep this evidence from the jury. However, his arguments are without merit. As shown above, DM gave consistent descriptions of the male she saw at the time in question. One of those consistent descriptions is that the male had bushy eyebrows. This description is clear, it's not confusing, and therefore will not confuse a jury. The fact that this description may or may not implicate the defendant is not a reason to keep this fact from the jury's consideration. It's not reasonable to believe that the jury will convict the defendant based on the status of his kept or unkept eyebrows. When he first got arrested, and when we first actually got to see him in court, people then were speculating that it looks like he'd plucked his brows a bit. I don't know if he did or didn't. While this fact is prejudicial, so they say while this fact is prejudicial, relevant evidence tends to be, it is not unfair. DM's testimony will be based on her personal knowledge, and DM is competent to testify. That's what they say. This was the longest document we had to go over, but there's more. In conclusion, the state respectfully requests this court rule consistently with its previous findings that DM is credible and competent to testify, and allow DM to testify at trial regarding a recollection of the male she saw in her residence during the early morning hours of November 13th of 2022 as having bushy eyebrows, because this evidence is relevant and admissible. So there's that, and then here we go to the picture again. I mean, this could also just be bad lighting, despite my previous speculation of him being so pasty. And I don't know, people were saying, is he left-handed? I don't know. He's probably holding his phone with his right hand, so maybe he's right-handed. What do we know? I can't remember. It's somewhere on the playlist. We had looked, had lots of pictures to figure out if he's left-handed, right-handed, I don't know. But if he is right-handed, and people here say, whoa, they'd expect to see, I don't know, a lot more injuries on his hand based on what he's accused of doing. It could be on the other hand. Could be why he's taking the selfie. I don't know. I don't even know what to make of this picture. He looks, to me, quite tired, pretty drained, and pretty damn proud of himself for some reason. Anyway, and here is, YouTube. Listen, YouTube, this is public record. Okay, wait, because YouTube gets very, very sensitive about driver's licenses. Okay. This is public record. It's an exhibit or evidence that's going to be shown at a trial, a quadruple homicide trial. It is part of documents that have been redacted, so we are not showing anything that we cannot show. Okay, so here we go. Here's the driver's license. Okay, we see that. There's a picture. Bryan C. Kohberger. There you go. They've put that in there as well to show the height. Okay, big banner here, public record. Okay. Yeah, some of you are saying bruise on hand. I mean, I've seen people play with the contrast of this picture, and then they see bruises on his head, and they see bruises on his hand, and all sorts of things. But I just don't know. I don't want to speculate that right now because I don't know. All I see is a selfie, and I do see a shower curtain. So I don't know. I've seen that Jules True Crime Reactions is also helping people see the shower curtain, because people are just out there reporting like, holy crap, look, he took a shower curtain, he showered, and then he washed himself off after the murders. They say, whoa, this guy's innocent of proven guilty, but yes, okay. And then they're like, and then he took the shower curtain off. Well, later he did, because when they went to the apartment with the search warrant, there was no shower curtain. But in this photo, the morning after the murders, there's a shower curtain here. You could see it here, just on the side. Okay, so we've got that. Now we get to the phone activity. I suppose this one is a little bit lengthy as well. I hope you guys are all buckled up for quite a long time of me talking and showing you documents and very little pictures or videos. I hope that you are here for document time, because that's pretty much what we have right now in this case. Nelia says, I'm thinking if the picture is taken to confirm to other... Do you mean incel? The completion... I hope not incest. Incel? Either way, the completion of a task. Curious if the pic was sent anyway to the internet. That's an interesting question. Did he send it to anyone? I don't know. Now, text messages and testimony. The state indicate... Okay, wait. Let me help in case somebody else is looking for these documents, because sometimes it takes a long time just to find the right document. If somebody else, a content creator, wants to go live with a specific aspect, let me help you and tell you which document I'm looking at. State of Idaho plaintiff versus Bryan Kohberger, regarding text messages and testimony. It's called the defendant's objection to the state's motion in limine regarding text messages and testimony. That's the one out of 71 filings for March. And this one will go over the messages between the surviving roommates. The state indicates that the initial text is the beginning of the time frame at 2:10 a.m. and that the text is not offered for the truth of the matter. Similarly, at the end of the time frame is a text from the University of Idaho at 1:04 p.m. The state grounds its request in the rules of evidence and a previous decision by Judge. Yes, his name was Judge. Okay. So let's go to the highlighted portions. Mr. Kohberger herein provides a more complete but not exhaustive review of DM and BF's communications and interactions with social media during the hours established by the state. Objection to the state's motion in limine, text, exhibits 1 and 2, DM and BF phone record for activity during the state's timeline. Now again, one more time, a complete but not exhaustive review. It's still, I think it's still redacted quite a bit, okay? So just keep that in mind. It's not flowing with the whole conversation. It's just focusing on certain points, right? Bree says, love creators. We love creators supporting other creators. Thank you so much all for being here, by the way. I really appreciate you coming here to listen to me talk about all the things I found in all these documents. You're nerds like me, huh? We want to know what's going on in this case, and we have to keep up. For a while there, you know, some of the documents weren't as interesting, but holy crap, it's getting interesting now. Things are heating up because the trial is nearing. Okay, if you missed the beginning, the trial is set to start with jury selection on July 31st, and they're supposedly going to do opening statements on August 11th of 2025. Now, look here, November 13th. So obviously DM is one of the surviving roommates, and so is BF, right? So some of these initials, I won't know who they are, okay? Some people have deep dived the case so much they know exactly who they are. I don't know all of them, but DM text to EG is the Uber driver, they say, inquiring if he was driving. That's at 2:10:29 a.m. The murders happened between like 4 and 4:25, right? Okay, so 2:13, EG, this Uber driver, text to DM confirming he was driving. MM, so that would be Madison Mogen, one of the victims, second from the left in the picture above me here. MM calls BF. Then, at 3:51, DM creates a new contact in her phone. 4:19, that's after the murders took place. BF calls DM, and then DM calls Xana Kernodle, one of the victims, and then DM calls Kaylee Goncalves, one of the victims, and then DM calls BF, the other surviving roommate, for 41 seconds, and then BF calls Xana Kernodle, and then DM calls Madison Mogen, and then BF calls Madison Mogen, and then BF calls Ethan Chapin. So the two of them are freaking out a little bit. Maybe some people will think they're not freaking out, okay? So it depends. All opinions are welcome, all right? Just say whatever it is that you think. To me, it would be like, they're both like, what the hell is going on? Let's try to get hold of our roommates, and they're busy calling them, and no one's answering, and they just don't know what's happening. That's what it seems like is going on here. I've seen some speculation about DM creating a new contact in her phone. I would say that these are college kids and they are on their phones a lot. I mean, I am 41 and I'm on my phone all the time. I'm like on my phone all the time. So I just mean if it's like creating a new contact and calling this one and Snapchatting that one and being on Instagram and then you're doing this, they seem very, very busy. But I think if you looked at every day, it would look like this. I think every day, besides all the calls to the roommates, then both of them being like, oh my word, let's try to get hold of them. I think they were very, very busy on their phones. So then DM creates a new contact and then they're all those two are trying to call the other roommates. DM to BF, no one is answering. DM to BF, I'm really confused right now. That was at 4:22. 4:22 a.m., DM to Kaylee Goncalves. Kaylee, what's going on? BF, outgoing message on Snapchat. BF to DM, yeah dude, WTF. BF to DM, the two surviving roommates. Xana was wearing all black. See, that's out of context. This conversation doesn't make all that much sense because we don't have the whole conversation because it's redacted for court purposes. One day when it's the trial, then people who think that this is the whole conversation will say, oh, because they'll give us the whole context, right? Wheezy Girl said, yay, thank you, G, for all you do. I'm so glad I was able to catch you live. Thank you for being here. Okay, I just want to see. Yeah, Cynthia said, did anyone hear about the police finding the sharpener? We're going to get to the sharpener if you're talking about the knife. A search for one. Okay, so then, yeah, dude, WTF. BF to DM. Xana was wearing all black. And DM to BF. I'm freaking out right now. No, it's like a ski mask almost. And BF to DM says, shut the F up, right? STFU. And BF to DM says, actually, DM to BF, like he had something over his head and mouth. Bethany, I'm not kidding, I'm so freaked out. And then Bethany, I said her name, but it says Bethany there. Bethany says, so am I. DM to BF, phone is going to die. F. BR, I think they mean BF to DM. Come to my room, run down here. Then DM calls EC, which I think is Ethan Chapin, one of the victims. DM to BF. I don't know what this 2 means. You see when it goes like this, when they say just 2, what? Is it a message? Is it a text message? Because they say call and this, so maybe it's a text message. Then DM, 4:27 a.m., outgoing call. DM outgoing message on Snapchat. DM outgoing message on Snapchat. DM calls Kaylee Goncalves. DM calls Xana Kernodle. BF calls Madison Mogen. BF calls Madison Mogen. BF calls Kaylee Goncalves. And again, DM texts Kaylee Goncalves. BF access Snapchat. So I think they're going to Instagram, Snapchat, and all these other ones to try to get hold of their friends because they don't know what's going on, right? So then, BF accessed Instagram. That was at 4:37 a.m., right? Then 3 hours or so goes by, just less than 3 hours. BF calls dad. 8 o'clock, BF calls dad. 8 o'clock, BF calls another number. BF calls home. BF calls mom. And at 8:09 a.m., dad calls BF. Now, I don't know what the conversation was. People are saying, why the hell did the parents not tell them to call the police? I don't know. I don't know what the conversation was. I don't know what they would have told them, what they would have said, what they heard, just saying, I'm freaking out. We're in the room together here, because later it tells us in this document that DM, Dylan, as we know, ran downstairs. Even though she was scared, she did leave the room. She ran downstairs and she went to Bethany's room. And the two of them were downstairs. So if the two of them are now downstairs and they can't get hold of everybody upstairs, well, I don't know what they're telling their parents, if they're talking to their parents. I don't know. Because if people are going to say, why did the parents not say call the police? Depends what information they received, isn't it? So then 8:05 to 10, DM on Instagram. And then BF takes photos between 8:41 and 8:42. Now that time was interesting to me initially because the state alleges that Kohberger went back to the house, but that was more around between like 9 and 9:30. I think it was like 9:15 to 9:30. So that's too early for that. Now there again, people like to say, well, what the hell are they doing on Instagram? Why are they taking photos? We don't know what they took photos of. Maybe they took photos out the window. Maybe they took photos of like, look at this, or like, I don't know. It depends what they're taking photos and who they're showing and who they're sending it to. I don't like to fill in the blanks, especially not in a way to point fingers at them, because we just know so little. I think that'll be so unfair. We don't know. So DM, but let me just say, I do understand why people say, oh my word, this is so sus. I'm definitely not invalidating that. And at the same time, I also understand why people have empathy for them and like, what the hell was going on here and how are they supposed to know? And maybe they were just trying to figure things out for all that time, right? So DM on Instagram, DM on Indeed, DM at 10 o'clock in the morning to 10:23, messages, incoming and outgoing, Snapchat. DM text Madison Mogen. DM on Instagram, 10:30 to 10:45 a.m., DM messages, incoming and outgoing, Snapchat. JM texts BF. See, I don't know who JM is. Somebody texts BF, and then DM on Instagram, messages on Snapchat. Then DM at 11:29, text KG. So the whole time, all the way up to the time where they are going to make that 911 call, they are trying to get hold of the other roommates in the house. Now, one might say, well, why don't they hear that their phones are ringing and ringing and ringing and they're not answering? Because their phones are probably on silent, and I'm just guessing. Not everyone's like that, but a lot of times, I'm like that. And college kids could definitely be like that, because if they're gonna go ping, 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 ping with all the messages they get, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, phone calls, like everything. Your phone could be on silent, you know? It could just be on vibrate, it could be on silent. We don't know if it's like ringing, 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 or if it's just silent, or what is happening. We don't have that information, right? Ellen Hood said on the 911 call, you could tell she's scared to death. Miss Buckeye said, love this channel. Thank you for all you do, G. Great mods, great respect for the victims here. Thank you, Miss Buckeye. So they're still trying to text Kaylee Goncalves, 11:29 to 11:32, DM on Instagram and messaging on Snapchat. And then 11:35, DM on Yik Yak and DM on TikTok. That could just be like reaching out to people. It could still actually be trying to contact any of the victims on all these other apps. For all we know, we just don't know. DM messages, Snapchat, 11:39 to 11:40, DM and dad text. So there's the same question I've seen pop up of why the hell did her dad not tell her to call the police? Depends what information he got. BF calls JM. JM texts DM. DM on Instagram. And that is 11:44 to 11:50. DM calls EA, which I think is the neighbor. Is EA? Do you know? Is this? It could be. I don't know. It could be that Emily one from next door or something like that. JM text DM. Now we're getting right up to the 911 call. BF text JM. JM text BF. JM text BF. BF text JM. So texts are flying back and forth between JM and BF. Then between 11:54 and 11:55, JM text BF 3 texts. 11:54 to 11:57, DM is on Instagram. At 11:56, BF calls 911. So you can see these two times overlap. So while BF is like, okay, with her phone, it's BF's phone, they're calling 911, they've now made that decision. While it's happening, DM is doing something on Instagram, and I don't know what. Maybe she's trying to get hold of all the other college kids, the friends, and be like, what the hell is going on? This is freaking us out. I don't know. The state has selected text messaging as excited utterances and present sense impression. The totality of circumstances defeat the state's request. BF and DM texted each other a handful of times, and then they were in the same bedroom. They were together with the ability to talk to each other. They were not asleep for 8 hours. The messages the state seeks admission of as exceptions to hearsay began with a call and a message about being confused. This is the defense's narrative. After texting each other and unsuccessfully speaking with any of their roommates, the pair were together. The state is looking at the messages with the benefit of hindsight. The analysis has to be done in the moment the utterances were made. Text messages in this case. DM first claims confusion. Then after communicating with BF claims fear to leave the room. Despite her stated fear of leaving a room, she does so and joins BF downstairs. See, we're getting more information there. We didn't know that quite before. To get to BF's bedroom, DM passed the front door of the residence, which, do you remember at 8:30 in the morning, the door was like standing wide open? I remember that. That was also weird. That was weird. Holly's mom Thanks for being a member for 8 months. And Wisdom Speaks, his best channel ever. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, they passed the front door. BF was steps from the front door. Neither of them left the house. Neither of them called friends, family, or law enforcement for help. Instead, both have a substantial amount of activity beginning in earnest less than 4 hours after DM made her way to BF's room. BF and DM communicate with friends and parents, and DM is on social media. The second grouping of message the state claim fit with the exception to hearsay rule are those from DM to her roommate beginning at 10:23 a.m. 6 hours later. The state claims that DM woke up and realized her roommates had not responded to her earlier texts. The state is wrong. DM was awake. She was messaging on Snapchat. She was on Instagram, and she texted with her dad. And this is not an exhaustive list of activity on her phone. So is Kohberger and the team trying to point fingers at DM? I'm not sure, but what I do like is that the defense is at least correcting information with receipts. You know what I mean? Saying, well, look at these texts. You can see they're not sleeping. Okay. So she was messaging on Snapchat. She was on Instagram. And they say she was with BF, who was also communicating with her parents and then later friends. Mr. Kohberger urges the court to view the state's request with consideration of the complete picture. The state has asked the court to look at a timeline, and Mr. Kohberger urges the court to look at everything that occurred during the timeline. The state's motion should be denied. Paula Brown says, can there be a diagram of all the initials? The most important is DM and BF, the surviving roommates. It's important to hear what they're saying because they were in the house right after the murders had occurred. Right? Yeah, Pernell said, easy to say what one would have done. Yeah, exactly. Kraken says they are throwing everything at the wall. I guess they should. It's also a death penalty case, right? Rhonda says, I consider BK's eyebrows bushy. Yours, G, or not? Is that a compliment? Thank you so much. Okay, so let's just see what this is. Okay, this is now the defendant's objection to the state's motion in limine relating to an alternative perpetrator evidence. So I just want to read you this, just so you know what's happening here. The state has chosen to focus on Mr. Kohberger. At its own peril, says the defense, Mr. Kohberger will produce offers of proof related to many alternate perpetrators in this case that will meet Idaho Rules of Evidence 401, 402, and 403. Many alternate perpetrators can be connected to the crime. Well, we've seen that on YouTube, haven't we? Well, maybe you haven't been. Have you been down the rabbit holes? There are a lot of rabbit holes. John Miller said Brian entered on Friday's Banfield, said they've got the surveillance video that shows him back near the house at 9:32 a.m. Hours after the murder. Have you heard it? Yeah, we'll look at that. Yes, well, they say him, but it would be the phone records and the car. So it is documented from what I could see as well. Thank you, John Miller, for your $20 sticker. So, wow, Delphi did not go like this. I wonder will the defense have the opportunity to say that there's many alternate perpetrators? Will this judge be like, cool, tell us who they are? They might be there for a while then. That'll be a long trial. Now this one is, we've still got 4 documents to go. Thank you so much all for being here to look at these with me. Now this is state's response to the defendant's motion in limine, number 9, regarding excluding Amazon click activity evidence at trial. This is about the knife, the K-bar knife, and Kohberger's Amazon activities, okay? Allegedly. Facts. On November 13th of 2022, law enforcement responded to 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. Payne attached to a state's exhibit. 4 victims were found deceased with apparent stab wounds. A K-bar knife sheath with a United States Marine Corps USMC logo was found lying next to one of the victims. Bryan Kohberger's DNA was found on the K-bar knife sheath found on scene. If he is the suspect. He's innocent until proven guilty. If he's the one who did it, I always wondered if he went back to the house because he's like, holy crap, I forgot that there. Or was it intentional? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it would have been intentional. But also, why would you go in there? Why would you walk out with a knife and not have the sheath? I don't understand why that was left there. But anyway, we'll probably find out more at the trial. whittle stick. Thank you for your sticker. Okay, so that is the beginning of facts, as they say here. Then the search warrant, they executed a search warrant for all of Bryan Kohberger's Amazon activities. And so I'm just highlighting for you that the search warrant was limited to March 20th of 2022 to March 30th of 2022. So only those 10 days, March 20th to March 30th of 2022. Remember, the murders occurred November 13th, okay? And November 1st to December 6th of 2022. That's the parameters they were looking at for the search warrant. So then, if we keep scrolling, because I've made sure to highlight for you, the state narrowly tailored a search warrant for evidence regarding the crimes of homicide or burglary occurring at 1122 King Road. This included temporal limitations based on the officer's investigation, which limited the search from March 20th of 2022 to March 30th. Time it was known Bryan Kohberger purchased a K-bar knife with sheath and a sharpener from Amazon.com. So they're saying they have proof that he bought a K-bar knife with a sheath and a sharpener from Amazon. I've heard people argue that how did they know it's him? Because he was living at home. Mom, dad, I think the sisters might have been there. Maybe the dad bought it, maybe a sister bought it. How did they know? The state is saying they have evidence that Bryan Kohberger in March of 2022, which was months before the murders, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Okay, I got to count like 8 months before the murders, purchased a K-bar knife with sheath and a sharpener. And then November 1st, 2022 through December 6th, 2022, the time right before and after the homicides, Kohberger's entire click history, items not related to knives and accessories was not relevant. Without any legal basis, the defendant claims the state cherry-picked specific clicks or purchases out of the Amazon click history. This is simply not true unless you consider seeking only items of evidentiary value cherry-picking. Irrelevant click activity on Kohberger's account would not provide any relevant context to Kohberger's actual click activity, i.e. the purchase of a K-bar knife with a sheath before the murders, and his click activity indicating a search for a knife with sheath after the murders. Okay, K-bar knife with sheath before, and indicating a search for a knife with sheath after the murders. So, Debbie Baker, thank you so much. Kim Younger says, I struggle trusting anyone who has obsessions with weapons. What's this collecting knife stuff? The thing is, he was a criminology student, so I don't know, if he could have just been collecting it. That would be, I'm sure the defense would argue that, like, hello, think of what this guy was studying and doing, and why would he not? And why can't people have knives? You know what I mean? But it's pretty specific based on the knife sheath that was found at the crime scene. So now they say Bryan Kohberger's Amazon click activity is relevant and admissible. The defendant appears to argue that the evidence of the defendant's Amazon click history is not relevant. This is not the case. A K-bar knife sheath with a USMC logo was found next to one of the victims at 1122 King Road. The defendant's DNA was found on the K-bar knife sheath on scene. Applying the test for relevancy first, Kohberger's click activity, which shows a purchase of a K-bar knife and sheath before the homicides, make it more probable than it would be without the evidence that the K-bar sheath found at the crime scene was Kohberger's. Second, Kohberger's click activity after the homicides makes it more probable than it would be without the evidence that Kohberger had a reason to search for a K-bar knife and sheath after the homicides. It's interesting because they haven't found the murder weapon. But they found this sheath with his DNA on it. So that is very difficult for the defense to overcome that, in my opinion. So initially when I read this, I actually thought initially he was searching, because I've seen it also reported this way, that he bought a K-bar knife with sheath before the murders, and that afterwards, what I see on mainstream media, they're saying that he only looked for a knife sheath after the murders. But here it says, indicating a search for a knife with sheath. And this doesn't say K-bar the second time round. Was he going to buy a different one or what? Okay, let me just restore my chat here because I can't see you guys anymore. Okay, wait, the chat is very busy. Thank you to everyone that's here. My goodness. Lots of people here on a Sunday ready to study this case with me, to deep dive it. So if I missed any, I don't know, messages, stickers, or anything in between now for the last few minutes, I'm sorry about that. I didn't see it. Let me see. Here's one. Larissa Harris said, this case has sucked me in the last few months. Definitely thought guilt until I researched more. Too much to type. Oh, I understand. Don't worry. I've been down all those rabbit holes too. You said, appreciate your hard work. When do you sleep? Yeah, no, I'm alive 24/7. I am live and alive 24/7. No, I definitely do sleep. Thank you so much for your sticker. Okay, so this, let me know what you think about that, okay? What is clear from the defendant's filing is that the defendant doesn't like, I like how the state words is like, he doesn't like it. This defendant, I've never seen this wording like this. He doesn't like it when we say bushy eyebrows. So he doesn't like the selfie we found, okay? But he doesn't like it that this piece of the state's evidence defendant's Amazon click activity, and therefore would like to keep this piece of evidence from the jury. However, his arguments are without merit. While this evidence is prejudicial, relevant evidence tends to be, it is not unfair. That wording is just like, okay. Yeah, why would he like it? He definitely wouldn't. Kick Rock says, while I don't personally care for BK's defense attorney, BK would be hard pressed to later claim, inadequate counsel. Yeah, I don't think he can claim that. Good luck if he tries. So that is what we have there. Now, next, 3 to go. State's response to the defendant's motion in limine number 11 regarding exclude IGG evidence. Just as a little break, let's just remember the victims for a moment. I've made this little tribute that I played before just so that we can take a breather and watch this video clip, okay? Okay, so just so we don't forget what this case is all about, you know, who this is for, who we want justice for. Okay, so we've got 3 documents to go. This one is the state's response to the defendant's motion in limine number 11 relating to exclude IGG evidence. Now again, there's a lot of text, and I've made sure to go through everything myself and highlight it for you so that we can just see what is important here. So let's find it. I mean, the whole document's quite interesting, but I want to make sure I give you the bullet points. So it says, this one is what is being reported right now. It's going around, right, in the media but the defense has not yet disclosed any experts to challenge the confirmatory STR comparison showing the DNA on the knife sheath matched the defendant's DNA. On the contrary, the defense has disclosed that its forensic biology and DNA expert will testify that there's good support that Mr. Kohberger's DNA was found on item 1.1, a swab from the knife sheath. Instead of challenging the conclusion that the DNA on the knife sheath belonged to the defendant, the defense expert disclosures reveal that the defense plans to argue that the DNA on the knife sheath does not prove the defendant was ever at the crime scene, and the knife sheath itself could have been planted by the real perpetrator. So that's one of the defense strategies that's recently been revealed is, oh, they're going to say that this evidence was planted. Okay, Ro, thanks for being a member for 27 months. You said, thank you for always reminding us it's about the victims. I hope you guys could hear the song. Could you? That we were not sitting there in silence is okay too, but there was music with it, okay? Kim, thank you so much. So that is quite interesting. And you know the Long Island serial killer case? Rex Heuermann's defense attorney is Michael Brown. And he's actually a regular guest on Court TV. And he was on Court TV with Julie Grant the other day. And they had asked him what he thinks about this. And he, being a defense attorney, said, well, just because the knife sheath is there with Kohberger's DNA does not prove that he committed the murders. It just proves that his DNA is on the knife sheath. So that was quite interesting. And they haven't found the murder weapon. So I don't know. I wonder if the defense has anything to work with there, you know? Because on the other side, if you look at it from the state side, that's pretty damning. Like, why is his DNA on the knife sheath found right there at the crime scene? You know, and then a car that looks like his car that he's driving around in. Why is it there? Why all the things, the bushy eyebrows, the thing. When you start stacking it all together, then for the state side of things, it could look like a lot of coincidence, and it all starts becoming quite circumstantial. When you look at it from the defense side, then you're like, how are you going to prove that he did anything? Because his hair, shoe prints, saliva, sweat, nothing else was there. Just on the knife sheath, no DNA of his anywhere else. That's interesting. And then, of course, the defense will bring in the other male DNA that was found on the handrail that wasn't Ethan Chapin's or Bryan Kohberger's, and on a bloody glove outside, so blood on the handrail, blood on a glove outside, even that, right? Oh my goodness. So, yeah, Alaris Pilot says, planted by who? That is a good question. Who would do such a thing? I don't know. Ellie B from Tennessee said, rest in peace to those beautiful souls. Yes. Okay, so instead of challenging, this was a big one that came out recently. These are all filings like in the second week of March. I mean, today's date's the 23rd. So yeah, a lot has happened in the last week. And they say, but it was the scientific process of the STR comparison that confirmed the defendant's DNA matched the DNA found on the knife sheath. So I just wanted to put that there as well. And all the rest is just a lot of information. Then it says, revealed by the IGG performed here, the fact that the DNA was obtained from a crime scene and analyzed for purposes of identifying the perpetrator displaces any reasonable expectation of privacy, because the defense is continuously saying that Bryan Kohberger's privacy and rights were violated, and here the state's saying the fact that the DNA was obtained from a crime scene and then analyzed for purposes of identifying the perpetrator displaces or kind of trumps any reasonable expectation of privacy. So, thank you, Pixie Dust. Wait, I think I missed one again. Hold on one second. Julie said, instead of crying, I'm going to give to make sure this case stays in on the front lines. Thank you, G and Mods, for making sure we stay on top of this. Yeah, thank you so much. So let's see if there's anything else here. So the conclusion was the state did not act in bad faith, and the defense has failed to show that the state violated its obligations under Brady. This court should deny the defense's motion to the extent that the defense requests sanctions against the state. The parties do seem to agree, however, that the IGG information should not be presented at trial. This court should thus enter an order excluding the IGG information at trial other than as a generic tip for the purpose of helping the jury understand how the investigation progressed. Because the state's at this point saying, we don't care, we don't have to talk about the IGG. So they've agreed on that. The defense wants that out. They violated Kohberger's rights. The state's saying, okay. And so what they're going to do is, at the trial, present it as a generic tip, because they've got the STR comparison DNA, which is more damning than the IGG one. Okay, now this one, let's just go up here. We've got 2 to go, and they're much shorter. The state's response to the defendant's motion in limine number 6, reference to touch DNA and contact DNA. So I just wanted to, about the DNA, just talk about this here for a second. It said, Ms. Nolan, which is an expert, right, will explain primary and secondary transfer of DNA and factors that may affect primary and secondary transfer of DNA. No average juror would understand those concepts without the type of training and experience that Ms. Nolan has. Ms. Nolan will also opine that the amount of DNA found on the sheath and the fact that it came from a single source make it more likely that the DNA arrived on the sheath because of primary transfer rather than secondary transfer. That too will assist the jury because a non-expert possessing those same facts would have difficulty interpreting their significance. Ms. Nolan's explanations and inference both go to the significance of the defendant's DNA on the knife sheath, which will be a critical issue at trial, especially considering the defendant's expert's proposed testimony that at least implies that the jury should attribute little to no significance to the defendant's DNA on the knife sheath. So the state is coming prepared for those arguments. So there's that, and then there's the last one here, which, if you thought there wasn't a Walmart in this case, there is. Yes, there is. Kohberger, well, a vehicle matching the description of Vehicle 1 merges onto 5th Street northbound and immediately turns onto Port Drive towards Walmart. If you haven't ever been here when we talk about Walmart, wow, Walmart is in a lot of cases. Sorry, Walmart. Okay. This one is called Make and Model of Suspect Vehicle. It's a 51-page document, so let's go to the highlights. But basically, they're talking about, there's a lot here about the vehicle and how they decided that Kohberger's vehicle, they found Kohberger also because of the vehicle, right? November 13th, 2022, Moscow Police Department responded to that 1122 King Road. And so investigators found 4 deceased individuals who died from apparent stab wounds. We read that, okay? So here, I'm just going to quickly skip to this one here, where they say, the 1122 King Road video shows a white sedan entering the crime scene area at 4:04 a.m. The same white sedan is seen departing the crime scene area at 4:20 a.m. at a high rate of speed. Now, they did say in one of these documents that I read earlier, I don't know if it's this one, that they have, before the house was demolished, they did I think they called it time runs. So it's like testing to see if one perpetrator could commit 4 murders like that in that time. And they found that it's very possible. Okay. Anyway, so they said, based on this information, investigators focused on identifying the make and model of the white sedan seen on 1111 King Road surveillance. The suspect vehicle is seen on King Road surveillance prior to the homicides, and the suspect vehicle makes 3 initial passes by the crime scene before entering a 4th and final time at 3:30 a.m., 3:33, 3:38, 3:40, 3:56, and 3:58 a.m., and then at 4:04 a.m. So they talk all about that. We've gone over that before. I'd rather scroll down here where they show us some pictures, but we've looked at the maps before of the car movements and all of that as well that they have on surveillance. This Hyundai Elantra, like, what a vehicle. If Kohberger is convicted, if he's the guy who did this, like, you really went there in your white Elantra, bro. Initially people were like, there's no way, man, there's no killer that's going to go there in a white vehicle. Well, maybe he did, right? Okay, so I just want to scroll down to where I had highlighted things. Wow. So yeah, we've gone over some of this map time and all of that as well. Yeah, and the timeline, sorry, I just want to see, where did I start? It was somewhere down here. With these, like, details, this document, you can find it, it's public record. You don't have to, like, request it, it's not difficult. You just go to Google, type in Idaho cases of public interest, and you will find it. You will find it. But the link is also in the description box, okay? If you want to read this. So they literally go of every detail here. The headlights of a vehicle are seen traveling westbound on Indian Hills Drive and 326, and so they go. So what was it? I think I just wanted to really show you the Walmart here. 347, 48, let's just see as we go here. We're going now to 401, yes, and here Here, 4:04 a.m. Headlights are seen traveling north on Walenta Drive behind 1119 King Road. 4:04 a.m. A vehicle matching the description of Vehicle 1 travels south on King Road and turns east onto Queen Road. 4:05 a.m. A vehicle matching the description of Vehicle 1 pulls partially into east side parking lot of the 500 Queen Road apartment buildings from the north side of the buildings moving east. The vehicle matching the description of Vehicle 1 then completes a 3-point turn and then returns westbound. 4:06 a.m. Headlights are visible in a window reflection as well as on the exterior of 1119 King Road, indicating the vehicle is facing west on Queen Road. The lights appear to move slowly, indicating the vehicle is descending the hill while passing by the front of the victim's residence. And so they go on, right? So 4:07 a.m. Headlight on November 13th of 2022. Headlights of a vehicle turning north onto Queen Road briefly shine on exterior of 1127 King Road. There's no subsequent vehicle activity captured for approximately 13 minutes after these headlights are seen. 4:20 a.m. A vehicle matching the description of Vehicle 1 travels westbound on Queen Road at a high rate of speed, turning north onto King Road. Headlights can be seen on shining onto the trees to the west of the intersection of King Road and Taylor Avenue, indicating the vehicle turned west onto Taylor Avenue. And 4:21, headlights are seen traveling on Walenta Drive behind 1119 King Road. And then it goes to 5:26 a.m. A vehicle matching the description of Vehicle 1 is seen traveling northbound on Johnson Avenue. Okay, and so I didn't highlight anything else here, only for when later in the day, allegedly, Bryan Kohberger allegedly went to Clarkston, Washington. And as you can see, this was afternoon. After the selfie, he allegedly went to 1122 King Road. He's the suspect in the quadruple homicide. Took a long-ass drive, went home, showered, took a selfie, and then went out again, headed out. And then they say an individual matching the description of Kohberger enters the main entrance to Costco. The individual appears to approach the front door from the northeast portion of the parking lot. Now this, I haven't heard Costco, all of this before, so there's some new details here. 12:34 p.m., an individual matching the description of Kohberger appears to be denied entry into Costco. They're like, sorry, sir, you got to go to Walmart. Walmart, not Costco. Get your ass out of here. So he's denied entry and leaves out the entrance and returns to the northeast section of the parking lot. A vehicle matching the description of Vehicle 1 is seen traveling westbound through the Costco parking lot. Then Costco gas hut. A vehicle matching the description of Vehicle 1 merges onto 5th Street northbound and immediately turns onto Port Drive towards Walmart. You see? Now you're on your way, sir. Now you're heading in the right direction. A vehicle matching the description at 12:42 p.m. travels westbound on Port Drive, turning north into the Kate's Cup of Joe Drive through the lane. A vehicle matching the description of Vehicle 1 performs a U-turn into the U.S. Chef store parking lot and slowly moves south through the lot. And so we go, remember when he goes to Albrightsville, the grocery store, and apparently he's wearing gloves? Like medical grade gloves? I don't know. And they went to the self-checkout because we were all wondering, well, did anyone see that? Did anyone think it was weird or what's going on there? I don't know, but he went to self-checkout. I personally also like self-checkout. Less human interaction. Do you like self-checkout? Side note, I do love self-checkout, but he went to self-checkout. Okay. An individual matching. Not him. An individual matching the description of Kohberger. All right? Julie's like, don't drag Costco into this. That's what Costco said. They're like, listen, no. Access denied, you go to Walmart. Wow, okay. So 12:58, an individual matching the description of Kohberger is seen exiting the Albertsons via the east door. And so they go on. Okay. So they're talking about all the surveillance they have. They have a crap ton. If you just look at this, it is so much. There'll be no point in me reading this all out to you. To the person who earlier asked if, you know, that you said that Bryan Kohberger discussed on Banfield about evidence that Kohberger went back to the house at 9:32-ish a.m. That is based on his cell phone records, from what I remember. Not this, not from surveillance. I think it's based on cell phone records, but how the hell is there not surveillance of it if they have surveillance the other times? Shouldn't there be surveillance video of it? Maybe there is. Maybe I just missed it. Walker, thank you so much. So this as well, they said, we haven't heard this before, that through the course of this video review, clips showing vehicles matching the description of Vehicle 1 was seen on the WSU surveillance cameras located along Stadium Way in Pullman, Washington, were collected from the live camera system by S.A. Hill. These clips were turned over to the Moscow Police Department for storage. Surveillance review on the WSU camera system was conducted using a live view system. Due to the functionality of the system, only small clips were able to be extracted and maintained. S.A. Hill reviewed the WSU cameras between approximately 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. on November 13th of 2022 and collected clips which showed the vehicle matching the description of Vehicle 1. These sightings are noted above. No other sightings of vehicles matching the description were observed. So now they drew us little maps over here, which again, if you want to go check it out on the documents, it's very basic maps that we've seen before. We've gone over this before. So I just want to see if I highlighted something else for you here, which I think they show us pictures later. Here they're talking about, well, report of examination, the videos that they have, the video files that they have, okay? You could pause to read if you want. Unclassified, and then, yeah, here's the pictures of the vehicle. That's alleged vehicle. This is some of the exhibits. Make, model, chart. So they show some of what they saw. All right? True crime editor says, it's game over for Bryan Kohberger. Is it? I think the state has a strong case, but I also understand all the other arguments. So that's it for now. Holy crap, that was a lot. And there was only 8 out of 71 filings. It's so much. There's so much to talk about. But I think we talked about some of the most important, well, the highlights right now from those documents, things that I think that you would find interesting, right? Maybe you'd find all of it interesting, but damn, we'd be here for hours and hours. So the next court hearing, oh, thank you so much, Skeeter, is April 9th and 10th of 2025. Jury selection, July 31st. Trial starting August 11th. Put that in pencil. If you want to put it in pen, just make sure you have your Tipex ready. Stefan, if you wrote it in pen, it's Tipex, okay? So, what was the most interesting to you? Let me know. Because there's a lot that we went over today. For me, seeing the selfie that he took at 10:31, that was pretty interesting. Learning about his Amazon searches could be interesting, obviously, given that there was a knife sheath just like that found there at the crime scene. Then, of course, the defense claiming that the knife sheath was planted. I'm just looking at some of my paper notes here if you're wondering what am I doing now. And there's other documents, you know, where the defense wants to say that the death penalty would be unconstitutional based on Bryan Kohberger's diagnosis on the autism spectrum disorder. The state came back and said, no, man. Firstly, there's no insanity defense in Idaho, so it's not under that category at all. But if they were to consider that at all, the rule would say that the person's IQ has to be 70 or below, and there's many other criteria that has to meet, and they say, no, sorry, that argument holds no weight. So between that and more of the roommates' messages and just everything, I think there was a lot of interesting things that we learned from this round of documents, because I can guarantee there will be more. Every time I look at that site, there's like, holy crap, there's like 20 more documents. So you're like, what? Try to keep up over here, okay, with everything else as well. So Diana said DM was very consistent and his spooky selfie, right? Pammy says, why? Who the hell would plant anything against BK? It makes no sense. Yeah, I don't know who that would be. Bailey Jean, Google user, says, oh, you said you're amazing. Thank you so much. That's so cute. Look at that little one. Look at the sticker. Thank you so much for a $50 sticker. I really appreciate it. Pumpkin Patch Vintage, I'm just reading some of your comments now quickly before we finish. The defendants aren't found innocent, only not guilty. It just means there is reasonable doubt. Yeah. Well, they could be completely acquitted. In the trial we're currently watching, please come and watch tomorrow with us, because holy crap. That's a cold case from 2007 that they've managed to bring to trial by arresting the roommate, and so far we haven't seen any evidence. So in fact, let me just make sure that I set that up for us so that we could teleport to it. Hold on one second. Let's go there and wait for that trial to start tomorrow, because that's what we'll be doing. Also, if you are wondering, are we going to listen to more jail calls? Maybe. of Stefan Stearns. In the meantime, we've done 3 live streams now listening to Stefan Stearns' jail calls in the Madeleine Soto case, okay? So go and check those out if you missed them. Then check out the description box for yesterday's live stream, because there is an unlisted link with all the jail calls, chronological, with timestamps, if you just want to listen to it all in one go yourself as well. I know you like my commentary, but we will meet again for that. How do I say your name? Lawyer to be says true crime with ES, thanks, defense, and Grizzly. Thank you so much for your sticker. Thank you, everyone. Are we ready now to teleport to the trial day for tomorrow? Thank you, mods. Thank you, patrons. If you haven't yet made it over to Patreon, check it out. Some people, I must say, they feel like, hey, I want to be a YouTube member. If you feel like you can't afford it, remember it's $1 on Patreon, and you get all the YouTube members only live stream replays on Patreon as well. Okay, so maybe I'll see you over there. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to rest my voice for tomorrow, because tomorrow we've got to talk some more about other cases and things. I will keep you posted on this case. Thank you so much for watching with me. I hope that there will be justice, and soon, for the 4 victims in this case, because, wow, this was absolutely brutal. And I think of them and their families all the time. So thank you for being here with me to study this case. See you soon. In the meantime, stay safe.